This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime. I want to dedicate the shir for the Atzlach of Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family, apparent and revealed Atzlach Emet Hashem in everything they do. Parshas Behaalotecha. V'adaber el Aaron ve'amart elav Behaalotecha es haneros el mul pnei ha-menoira. How do you spell menoira? Mem nun vav reishei. This word appears 4 times in this parsha, but twice it's missing a vav. And twice it has a vav. Seems kind of inconsistent. Either always spell it ksiv chaser or ksiv male. We would like to write it ksiv chaser because ink is kind of expensive these days. And there's no reason to add a letter unless you have one. So twice you have a ksiv male and twice you have ksiv chaser. Comes the time of the Kra, Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, and he explains. We find that 4 times Klal Yisrael built a menorah. The first time, Moshe Rabbeinu. He built it from gold, as it's supposed to be lechatchila. And that carried all the way to the first Beis HaMikdash, as the Gemara says in Menachos, Tzadi Ches Amud Beis. And then it was taken away. When we went to Galus, it was taken away to Bavel.
So the menorah, the word menorah is missing a vav.
The menorah is 4 times in this parsha. Twice it's missing a vav, and twice it's with a vav. Kind of inconsistent.
First 2 times with, second time without.
Yeah, so what's up with that? So the total we have 4 times menorah, and 4 times Klal Yisrael actually builds a menorah. The first time is Moshe Rabbeinu, and he builds a menorah from gold as it's supposed to be, as the Kodesh Baruch Hu instructed him and showed him. And in Menachos Tzadi Ches Amud Beis, we learn that it stays in Beis HaMikdash HaRishon until the Churban, when Klal Yisrael go to Galus, and the menorah goes with them to Galus, to Bavel. I'm sorry? No, the Gemara says it was taken to Bavel by the Kasdim, went to Bavel, and it came back with us, with all the other clay Beis HaMikdash, they came back with us, until the time of the Greeks. But then they defiled everything in Beis HaMikdash, including the menorah, and you can't use it anymore. Menachos Kafches, we learn that when Klal Yisrael came back, they didn't have so much money, so they built a menorah, but this time only out of metal. But yeah, but it works, but it's not lechatchila. Then they got a little more money, and they built a menorah out of silver. It's great, but it's only b'diavad. It's not the chatchila. Then chazru ve'eshiru. Then they have a little more money and they build it from gold. So twice we build from gold, and that's lechatchila. That's why twice menorah with ksiv male with a vav. Twice it's only kosher b'diavad, and therefore menorah ksiv chaser memnun reish hey.
The last time was up.
The last time is gold. The first time and the last time is gold, and those are kosher lechatchila, and that's why menorah with a vav twice in the pasha.
Why couldn't they use the original one?
It was defiled by the Greeks.
Meaning?
They were metame all the clay Beis HaMikdash, and they weren't able to use it.
Why go?
That's the Gemara says in Menachos Kafres. Kaches alavim v'tiata oisam. Take the levim, I want you to purify them. How do you purify them? What do you do to them? You got to shave all the hair, right? Why do you have to shave the hair? What's the connection between shaving the hair and purifying the levim? Comes Rabbeinu Ephraim, and he's not the only one, from the Rishonim, and he says, Chazal use an expression, Begadim shebisher b'hem kidei lerabo, lo yimzog b'hem kos lerabo. You don't use the same clothes that you use in the kitchen to go and serve your master. It's not nice. It's not respectful. The hair on one's body is as if the malbush, it's the garment of the body. So whatever you'll be using until now, until you go up to the Kodesh to serve a Kodesh Baruch Hu in the Kodesh, you got to remove it. You got to switch your clothing. Mimele, you're shaving your hair, new hair is going to grow, and that's as if your new garment, and with that you're going to serve Ibn Shiloh when you go into Beis HaMikdash to serve in the Kodesh. Gevaldik.
Is it just to a certain age? Or
all the Levim that are going to start working are going to have to shave. What's the connection? You don't use the same garments you used in the kitchen when you go serve Ribono Shel Olam. Rabbeinu Ephraim, I think Moshe Zkenim or Hadar Zkenim ala Torah as well. Since we're talking about hair, the riddle of the day. When is it that a person also has to shave all his body? He has to shave all the hair. We're not talking about back then. He's not a Levi. Or he can be a Levi, but it's not because of his being a Levi. He's not a Mitzorah, because we don't have Mitzorahim today. It's Bizman Hazeh. It's not for a medical reason. It's not a pikuach nefesh shayla. It's not a neder that he took. And yet, we'll instruct him, go and shave all your hair. When does this happen? Today, lemaise. Bizman hazeh. Can it be? Hair? Kannst du es chatzitza? Just make sure there are no knots. It's very short hair. Let them go shave all your hair. When does this happen? Pilei ploim avachidush unknown. But the person can bring it. Shulchan Aruch Yoredea. Reish Samech Ches Seif Yud Beis. Says the Rabbeinu Harema. Yisrael Mumar She'asa Tshuva. He had a guy who unfortunately converted out. He started avoid Zarah. Now he realized he was wrong. And he wants to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and he does tshuva. Says the Rama, he doesn't have to go to the mikveh. However, midei Rabbanan, he has to go to the mikveh. Tumas Sadeshen, Arishon. Simin Peivav. He writes, this tvila is not a din gamu de Rabbanon. But it's a minag and it's a chumrah, including to shave his entire body. So much so that he is asked. A guy comes and does tshuva in the middle of Chol HaMoed and says, in order to be a complete Baal Tshuva, I have to dip in the mikveh. I have to shave my whole body. Can I do it in Chol HaMoed? Can I get a haircut on Chol HaMoed? Says Tumas Adeshen. I think we can. Where does this come from? To shave a person who became a muma. Now he becomes a Baal Tshuva. Where does it come from? He says it's based on what Rashi explains on the Levim. What did Rashi explain in the Levim? Why do they have to shave? Because the reason the Levim I'm coming are to atone, to replace the Bechorim in Klal Yisrael that served Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is compared to a dead person. A dead person, there's a hekesh to a mitzvah. And you know that the mitzvah has to shave his entire body. Mimele, they have to serve the entire body. If that's the case, since this is similar to Moed Katan Daf Yud Zayin, when we learn that all those people who Nazir, the mitzvah, a guy who becomes pure, are allowed to shave on Chol HaMoed, Mimele, this person who becomes a Baal Tshuva now, even though it's not a din gamo midirabanon, it's only a minag and a chumah be'alma, he will be allowed to shave on Chol HaMoed. And even the Gemara says, if they had time before, it's not like a person who came out of prison in the middle of Chol HaMoed. He had time before. But Lemais now comes and says, I want to become pure again. Anazir, Ametzoya. We say, okay, go to the mikveh. This guy as well, Amuma, the Beker Baal Tshuva, will be able to shave in the middle of Chol HaMoed. Pilei ploim. And why is this? Because the reason we allow the Nazir, the Metzoya, if they don't become pure, we delay them from bringing their korban. He says this guy as well will delay them from doing certain mitzvahs because he cannot combine with ours to 10 people that call Davar Shebekdusha to a minyan until he does this. He has to go through the purification process. He has to shave his hair. Maybe we're delaying him and we're holding him back from doing certain mitzvahs and therefore allow him to do this even on Chol HaMoed. The Taz Yoredea Reish Samech Zayin, he brings as well in the name of the Drisha, this was the minhag, to take a person who becomes a Baal Tshuva and to put him in the mikveh and to shave all his body. V'chen matzasi v'raiti moirin halacha lemaise. And this is what we instruct halacha lemaise. Again, it's not a deraisa, it's not a derabanan, it's a minhag in a chumrah be'alma, and this is what we do. It's the Taz, it's Tumas Adeshen, Pilei ploim. Utkatem b'chatzoisros. You have to blow the trumpets. Why is it that when a person brings the korban, the Levi, you have to start playing some music? At the time of a war, you have to play some music. What's the connection? Comes the Sefer HaChinuch, and Mitzvah Shin Pei Dalid, and he explains Shoshei HaMitzvah, the reason for the mitzvah. He says, when you bring a korban, you have to have a complete kavanah for what you're doing. If you have the wrong machshava, you can disqualify the korban. In time of war, you daven ito, Ribono Shel Olam, I need you to save me. You need to make sure you have 100% kavanah. Says the Sefer HaChinuch, ve'en koyach ba'olam. There is nothing in this world that will awaken a person like koilos hanigun, like the sound of music. It's the only real thing. There's nothing like it that can awaken a person to become a Baal Tshuva, to have complete kavanah. And he says, in addition, this will help you to remove all other earthly matters from your machshava. So you'll be able to concentrate on what you're doing. And he says, I don't even have to explain it to you so much, because anyone who ever listened to the trumpet, to the shofar, with kavanah, knows what I'm talking about. It's so pashut. Great. So the Kohanim serve in Beis HaMikdash, and the Levim, they play the instruments. When a person comes and brings a korban, what tune exactly do the Levim play? Avrei Melefrid, Yishai Ribo, I don't know the other people. What exactly do they play when the guy brings a korban? It's whatever he chooses? According to his needs. What does that mean, his needs? How do they know his needs? They ask him ahead of time, what are your spiritual needs? Comes the Ponovezh Shemesh. The Ponovezh Shemesh says, the Kohanim have this X-ray vision. When the guy brings a korban, the Kohanim look at him, and if they see that he didn't do tshuva yet, they signal to the Levim, Levi, play the tune that will awaken him to do tshuva. He doesn't say it's a one-size-fits-all. Each person, it seems from his words, have his own tune that the Kohanim know. He said, Levi, tune number 4 for this guy. This will awaken him to do tshuva. It's a big chiddush what he's saying. First of all, what he's saying is chiddush. But more than that, because it seems there's a shira for a korban yachid. That's a big chiddush. Most don't agree with this. But lemaaseh, he says, a kohen signals to the Levi, the tshuva tune for this one. And it works. You see from here the unbelievable koyach that music has to cause a person to become a Baal Tshuva. Rabbi Yisrael Mishkelov, the Talmid of the Gaon Vilna, in his Akdama to Pastor Shulchan says, he testifies that his Rebbe, the Gaon Vilna, said that one who knows the secrets of music can actually cause Tchiyas HaMeisim. You can revive a person with the koyach of music. Kind of hard to understand, at least for us, but I think based on the Ponovezh Shemesh, we are able to understand it. Brachos Yudches Amud Beis, the Gemara says, Reshaim b'chayeihem nikraim meisim. A Rasha is a dead man walking. He's alive. You see him. He's fine. He's called dead because all he has is an accumulation of dead minutes. They don't have continuity. They don't carry him to the next one. So the mice, it's a lot of dead minutes. So he's a dead man walking. If we learn from here from the Ponovezh Shemesh, the Levim with their tunes can actually cause a person to do tshuva, that means they revive a person. Until now he was called dead. Now he's called alive. Tzadikim b'moisam nikraim chaim, reshaim b'chayeihem nikraim meisim. So this person, a Rasha, until now, before he does tshuva, he's called dead person. The tune of the Levim is going to awaken him to do tshuva. Mimele, this is like a tchiyas maybe a meisim. Maybe that's what the Gaon Vilna means. Maybe there's a mamish a real tchiyas meisim from a physical death that you can revive a person, but at least in one way we can understand the Gaon Vilna.
Interrupt you. We used to go inside the hotel, and there's a Makupal minyan. They blow the Oshros every morning. There's a reflection. Some of them have short Oshros, some of them have the long ones.
This is a don't leave home without it?
Huh?
This is a don't leave home without you always carry with you? Or you knew we were going to talk about this?
No.
Good.
I carry it with me. Can I pass it around or wait?
After.
Afterwards.
Vayomer al na ta'azov osanu, Moshe speaks to Yisro and he says, Ki al kinadata chanosenu b'midbar, ve'ayisa lanu le'enaim, you will be our eyes. And then he says, don't worry, we'll do good with you. Ve'ya kisa lechimanu, if you'll go with us, ve'ya hatovahu, asher yeitiv Hashem imanu, ve'itavnu lach. What is this stoiva that they're going to do for Yisro and for his descendants? Moshe promises, we're going to do good for you. What is that? Rashi. They gave him 500 amma by 500 amma of Yericho. Why specifically this size? 500 amma by 500 amma. Where'd you get this number from? Comes at Semach Hashem Letzvi. And he says like this. The Gemara says in Brachos Mem Gimel Amud Beis, one who takes big steps, Psia Gasa, it takes away 1/500th of his eyesight. The Gemara says that Kiddush of Leil Shabbos restores your eyesight. But you learn from here that the eye is as if comprised from 500 parts. If it takes 1/500th of your eyesight, that means your eye has 500th parts. Since Moshe Rabbeinu says you're going to be our eyes, 2 eyes, and each eye has 500 parts, you will receive for being our eyes 500 times 500. Evaldik. Comes the Keren Orah and says, but what's the mitik gebida? Why is it that if you take big steps, big strides, you can lose your eyesight? What's the connection? And the Keren Orah explains, it's a mitik gebida, measure for measure. A person who takes big strides, why does he do this? Because they want to take for himself everything that his eyes see. He wants to see what his eyes see. He wants to take it for himself. his eyesight will be diminished. So what's the connection that his eyesight is restored by Kiddush Friday night? Because about Shabbos it says, Shvu ish tachtav lo al yetze ish mim koimo. No one should leave his place. He's not going to look at other things outside his place on Shabbos. Because of that, his eyesight will be restored. That's one way. But Victor Miller Zatzal explained, gewaldig. What is this taking big strides? What are you trying to do? It seems like it's an extra hishtadlus, a little too much. Hishtadlus is required. But too much hishtadlus sends a signal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm the one in charge. I want to conduct the affairs here. I want to make sure everything. I have a meeting with my new client. I have a meeting with a banker. I got to take big steps because I got to make sure that I manage this place and I make sure that everything fits and everything works out. You need hishtadlus, but you really need to talk to Ribbon Shleilim. He's the one in charge. So when a person takes big steps, he says, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. It takes 1/500th of his eyesight. What's the connection to the eyesight? And we don't see it's true. People take big steps. People run. And you don't see that there's any problem with their eyes. They're fine. What's the connection? He says it takes 1/500th of the right perspective on the outlook of things. Your eyesight becomes a little blurry because you think you're the one in charge. So what's the connection to Kiddush Friday night that restores it? Because what do you do at Kiddush? You hold that wine and you say, Ribono Shel Olam, you are the one who created this world. You are the one who is managing this place from the beginning all the way till now and forever. In other words, that restores your real eyesight, your real perspective on things. You're in essence saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I give you back the keys. I understand that I don't understand so much how to manage this place, and I'll let you do it. You do a much better job than me. So Mimala, it's not a physical eyesight. Become a little blurry in your ashkafa. When you take big steps, in other words, extra hishtadlus, which is not required. But when you give it back to Ribono Shel Olam every Friday night, you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're the one in charge. That restores your right hashkafa, that restores the right, proper eyesight.
One more time, on the count of the 1,000, there are 1,000 parts, therefore?
There are 500 parts to the eye. Because one can lose 1/500th of the eyesight when he takes big steps. That means each eye has 500 parts. So why did he get Yisro and his sons 500 by 500? Because Moshe Rabbeinu said to him, "V'yisa lanu le'einayim." You will be our eyes. Each eye has 500 parts. 500 and 500. 2 eyes.
When you get older, you take smaller steps.
I guess it's steps corresponding to whatever you can take. And you choose to take bigger steps than that. According to Rabbi Victor Miller, when you do Kiddush Friday night, what are you doing? You're holding the Kamis HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you created heaven and earth. And since then, you are the one managing this place, not me. The big steps say, I'm in charge. I want to make sure everything works out according to my plan. You're not the one in charge. Give it back to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that's what you do Friday night. And that gives you the right hashkafa. And that restores your eyesight. Eyesight doesn't mean a physical eyesight. The right hashkafa, the right outlook on things, that Kodesh Baruch Hu is the one in charge. I have to do a little ishtadus. But let Kodesh Baruch Hu manage the place and keep conducting this world the way He sees it fit. It's Shabbos is the 7th day after 6 days of creation. You created the world, not me. You took us out of Egypt. You are the one who conducting this world, not me. I'm giving it back to you. And therefore I'm resting just like you do, just like you rest every single week. But after 6 days, I think I'm in charge. You're in charge. So when you give it back to Kodesh Baruch Hu, it restores your eyesight, meaning the right hashkafa, the right perspective, the outlook on this world.
Who says this? Who is this from?
Rabbi Victor Miller, Zatzal. This parasha, we talk about Pesach Sheni. I saw a big chiddush by the Pri Tzadik, Reb Tzadok HaKohen. He says, the Pesach Sheni is an inyan of Baalei Tshuva. He brings an opinion from the Zohar HaKodesh in Behaalotecha Kuf Nun Beis Amud Beis that Zohar rejects, but the Zohar does entertain this thought that the level of Pesach Sheni is greater than Pesach Rishon. Why would that be? Says the Pri Tzadik, because in Bochus Lamed Daled Amud Beis, Chazal say, Baal Tshuva stands on a higher place than a Tzadik Gamur. B'makom shebaalei Tshuva oimdin afilu tzadikim gemurim einam oidim. So if Pesach Sheni is an inyan of Baal Tshuva, they weren't chayav in the mitzvah, and they said, we're tameh, we can't do the first Pesach, we want to have a compensatory type of we want to have another mitzvah, it's a Baal Tshuva type of thing, they want to connect to Kodesh Baruch Hu, even though they're not chayav. Mimele, Pesach Sheni on one hand, as if is a higher level than Pesach Rishon. It's a big chiddush. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam, Vayomer Hashem, Pisom. El Moshe, El Aaron, El Miriam. What's Pisum? What's Pitom? Suddenly. What is it suddenly? Why can't you say, Vayomer Hashem El Moshe El Aaron El Miriam? Vayomer Hashem Pisum. Says the Sifri, this Pisum corresponds to another Pisum. Rabbi Shimon ben Asya says, Pisum shenisyare Moshe, bepisum nedaber imoy. What does that mean? Comes the Hamek Davar and says, Parashas Shemois, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is speaking to Moshe, says, throw the staff into the ground. And he does. What happened to it? Turned into a snake. What was Moshe's reaction? Vayamas Moshe mipanav. He runs away. Excuse me, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? You're talking to the Baruch Shilayla. You think it's safer over there? And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't send 15 snakes over there? And he can't protect you over here? What are you doing? There's some kind of a taina to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe didn't realize as if who he was talking to. He was fearing the sudden transformation of the staff into a snake. You're fearing while you're talking to Kodesh Baruch Hu? So Kodesh Baruch Hu sends you a reason to fear, and he says, please, I'm not going to speak to you suddenly. It's suddenly for suddenly, measure for measure. Achidish. Amek Davar. Second middle of the day. We talk about Miriam in this parasha. How long was Miriam a Neviah, a prophet? For how long was she actually prophesying? How many years did she live? 126. And out of those 126 years, how many years did she prophesy? 123. So she started at 3 till 126, she started at 0 till 123.
It's 3. Was it 3 or 6 when she put Moshe into the water?
Her mother did. She just came to watch.
She told her parents.
She told her parents, how old was she? 6. So from the age of 6 till 126, so 120 years. So we have 123, I'm not sure exactly when it starts, or 126. Anyone begs to differ? Before that.
She was Navel that her parents would have a Mashiach.
So how many years total is she a prophet?
Moshe was born.
From the time she was born to the time she dies, that's 126. 120. Mm-hmm. And a half.
The time of the later.
And how many days?
The time of the later. The time of, 6 months. Moshe was born after 6 months. Yeah.
So 126 minus 6 months?
It was 120 years and a half.
120 and a half. Uh-huh. The Madrash Agada begs to differ. Big Chiddush. Minus 7. So in 119 years, 6 months or 6 years? 7 months? 7 days. Medrash Agada says a little different number than yours. Your smallest number is 120, right? 126, 126 and a half, 125 and a half. Medrash Agada says, in Parshas Beshalach, the passage says, Vatikach Miriam Hanevia, Achot, the sister of? She's not sister of Moshe? Why is the pasuk calling Achot Aaron, not Achos Moshe? Ask the Medrash. V'chi Achos Aharoni velo Achos Moshe, Ela. Kol zman shayta achot Aaron bilvad, as long as she was only the sister of Aaron, she was Miriam Hanevia. But once Moshe is born, she transfers her koyach to be a Neviah to Moshe Rabbeinu. So how many years was she a Navi? The most is 6. Could be 3 or 6, depending how old she is, what the difference in ages between them. According to most opinions, she will be 6 years old when Moshe is born. Mimele, the most that she was a prophet for is 6 years if she starts prophesying on the first day she's born. If it's a little later, even less than that. So it's a big discrepancy between 120 and 6, but that's okay.
When Aaron was born,
No. Kol zman shayta achos Aharon bilvad. You want to minimize it even more. The first 3 years when she's by herself, she's not even a prophet. Could be. Based on that, she's down to 3 years only, and maybe a little less if she's not prophesying the day Aaron is born. Maybe she is. So 3 exactly she starts. For 3 years, Moshe is born, and then she transfers the koyach nevuah to Moshe.
So the shkina that you have as having being a prophet that stays, that can be transferred because it came to.
She didn't decide. Okay, I want to give it to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took it from her and transferred it to the languages. Shenoilad Moshe nitla mimena nevuah. It was taken away from her and transferred to her brother Moshe.
In that pasuk, doing an action at that point in time. She's looking at starting the Shira also. So how come she's named with something that she had way before? So
they usually call Lahavdil Elef Alfei Avdolos. The president of the United States, many years after he's no longer president, they still call him the president. Why are you calling him president? He's no longer president. If you're a prophet, what are you going to call him? You're going to demote him and call, now you're just Mrs. Miriam. You were probably a prophet once, you use that title. Lahavdil Elef Alfei Avdolos. If a president can retain his title, many years after, Lichora Navi can also. And who says she's prophesizing at that point? In Parshas Beshalach, why is she prophesizing? Why is a Shira a prophecy? Az Yashir, Moshe is a prophecy. Why is Miriam's a prophecy? Maybe it is, don't know. But what does it say then, Chazal? What's that?
She knew to take the tukim with her.
Right. So we said in Parashat Beshalach that she was saying to the men, we had bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we took the drums, and therefore we can have some instruments. All you can do now, vatan lahem shiru laHashem, you, all you can do is go and sing. You can't have music. So that means she wasn't relying on prophecy, she was relying on bitachon, that as if she was rebuking the men. You guys didn't have as much bitachon as we did. So Miriam and Aaron speak about the Isha Akushit. What does that mean? Who is this lady and why is she called the Isha Akushit? I know we know Rashi. What does Rashi explain? Rashi brings to the Medrash. Beautiful. Just like the Kushit stands out in her appearance, so too Tzipporah, Moshe's wife, stood out with her appearance and good deeds. She was amazing, both in her looks, and she was a big tzaddikus. But this is not a chiddush, because everybody knows Adish. So now we're going to bring some chidushim. Who really is this Isha Kushit, and why does the Torah call her Isha Kushit? Rabbeinu Ephraim, the Rishonim, one of Balei HaTosfos, Ki Isha Kushit Lakach, you should know. Chazal said, Yisro went to a place called Kush, and he took a wife, and she had Tzipporah, and he called her Kushit. So really, that is her name. The Rokeach, again, one of the Rishonim, he says that the woman that Yisro married, she was a Kushit. Tzipporah is her daughter. The Sifri asks, Tzipporah, what does this mean? Tzipporah, Tzifu Ureu. Come and see. It's a play on words. Cut it in two. Tzipporah, Tzifu Ureu. Come and see how beautiful this Kushit is. Because she was Na'a Ushmeina. Because she was beautiful and I'm looking for a politically correct, this is recorded, you know. Filled up a lot of space. Why? Where did you get it from? Because the pasuk in Ha'azinu says, Shamanta Avisa Kasisa. What does that mean literally? Shamanta Avisa Kasisa. You came full of fat, the fat is covering you. And therefore she is called a Kushit because in that pasuk, Kasisa, Kushit is the same way we spell it here, without a Vav. Kaf, Shin, Yud, Taf, and that's how the Torah spells Kushit. It's the same thing. In other words, she fills up a lot of space.
So you're saying that she was a Zafta? In other words, young women, young girls want to be skinny.
That's today, not back then. In different cultures in the past, it was exactly the opposite. More, Sifri says, Tzipporah died. His wife Tzipporah died. And Moshe married Isha Kushis. Tzipporah was beautiful. That's what we understand. She was Yefat Torah. And therefore, Baalei Yasod say, HaKushis, that's what the Torah calls her, Hey Kaf Shin Yutaf, has the numerical value of 735. Yefas Mar'eh, right looking, is 736. The same thing, Isha Kushit, 1036 in Gematria. Vezu Bas Yisro, this is the daughter of Yisro, 1037. Continues the Rishonim, Bechor Shorin says, in Divrei Hayamim of Moshe, there was a sefer called Divrei Hayamim of Moshe, it says she was literally a Kushit because Moshe was the king of Kush for 40 years and she was the queen of Kush. And he actually was married to her and she was literally Isha Kushit. Midrash Pisron Toya asks, V'chi Kushit? Why are you calling her Kushit in Toya? Ve'alot Tzipporah shma. Her name is really Tzipporah. And continues the Midrash says, and guess what? Her name is not Tzipporah. V'chi Tzipporah shma? Vehalo Penini Shma. Her real name is Penini. So what are you saying? Why are you calling it Kushi? Why are you calling it Tzipora? Velama Nikra Shema Tzipora. So why is she really called a nickname Tzipora? Because she used to run after Moshe like a tzipor. She flew after Moshe, kept running after him like a tzipor, like a bird. Maybe she's called Tzipora. Chidushim. Is it appropriate? Is it okay? Is it recommended for a woman to adorn herself with jewelry? Is it good? Woman should wear jewelry or not? Yes. You're saying yes. And your proof is? They can't accept it without proof. What's that? You can find favor in the eyes of your husband in different ways. So they happen to have some jewelry on them, so they took it off and gave it a... Who says a woman should wear jewelry?
For Yitzhak Avinu, Eliezer brought a bunch of jewelry, right?
Yeah, but we're in Parshas Behaalotecha. It could be that I'm looking for a remez in our Parsha. Could be. We go behind the scenes now. What was the Lashon Hara that Miriam spoke about Tzipora? Pnini, Kushit, whatever you want to call her. Whoever she is. What was the Lashon Hara? Chidushim. The Sifri in Piskat Tzadites, Yalkut Shimoni as well says, how did Miriam know that Tzipora separated from Pirya Verivia, or Moshe separated from his wife, and he is not with her anymore? Because she saw that Tzipora is walking around without jewelry. So she went over to her and says, how come you're not wearing jewelry? You had a beautiful necklace, and I remember that ring. Where is it? So Tzipora says to her, Moshe, your brother, is not makpid in this. He doesn't care. So therefore Miriam walks to her brother Aaron, and she tells over. You see from here that it's the right thing to do to wear the jewelry. Miriam thought this is something wrong. And why is it really? Because Moshe separated from her, and therefore she doesn't have to wear the jewelry. Which means people who are together and they're married together, they don't separate from each other. Lichora, you see from here clearly that the woman should be wearing jewelry. What's the proof? There's a mitzvah for every husband to wear before Yontif, to buy for his wife before Yontif clothing and jewelry. It's a mitzvah. So what she's buying it to put it in the safe? Obviously it's to wear it. So much so, there was a Tana, Abba Chilkia, Tana is Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, that he was the grandson of Choni Ameagir. That when his wife came to greet him, she was wearing jewelry, and the Chachamim asked him, why is your wife dressing this so nice and with jewelry? He says, because she's doing this in order for me not to look at any other woman. So it seems that it's the right thing to do for a woman to adorn herself with jewelry, but for the right cause and for the right sake, only for her husband and not for anybody else's eyes. Again, we continue going behind the scenes. What was the Lashon Hara that Miriam and Aaron spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe's Kenim al Torah, that's Behaalotecha Tosfos. They say, Miriam and Aaron advised Moshe, you should leave your wife. Who's your wife? A woman from Midian. You should get a nice girl from Beis Yankev. You're going with a lady from Midian, it's not right. Go to the middle of Mea Shorim or Bnei Brak, take a girl who went to Beis Yaakov. I think that's the one you should marry. It's not right. So why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu listen? The Pasuk calls Moshe Rabbeinu, Bechol Beisi, Ne'eman Hu. He is loyal. What does that mean he's loyal? The Moshe Kenim say. Paro pursued him, he wanted to kill him. Tzipora helped him at the time that he was pursued. Moshe exhibits Akaras HaTov. You helped me back then, even though I became now a king. I have a status of a king. The Gemara in Zvachim Kuf Beis Amud Aleph says Moshe Rabbeinu has a status of a king. But you helped me back then, so I don't care that you didn't go to the Beis Yaakov. Your resume is not so impressive. You come from Midian. But Bechol Beisi Ne'emanu, he is loyal to those who helped him, and therefore he stays with her. That's a Moshe's Kenim. I think maybe in a different take, the Gemara says in Bab Metzia Nun Tes Amud Aleph, one who honors and respects his wife will become rich. Moshe Rabbeinu became very wealthy. So Mistama, he said, it's because of you. I respected my wife. It's because of you. It's only because of one's wife that one can have a bracha. It's only because of her. It's the Gemara says, Mimele, I became wealthy because of you. Bechol Beisi Ne'emanu. He shows loyalty and Akaras HaTov to Tzipora, who he became wealthy because of her, and therefore he's going to say to Miriam and Aaron, forget about it, I'm staying with this Midianite. She's no Midian anymore, she converted for him. But even though her resume maybe is not so glamorous, he stayed with her. Miriam has tsaras. When one has tsaras, somebody has to come and check out the lesions and decide if she is Metzoya or not, right? Who's going to do it? A Kohen. Who did it for Miriam? Moshe. The Gemara in Zvachim Kuf Aleph Amud Beis says, who was Masgir Miriam? It can't be Moshe, because Moshe is not a Kohen. It can't be Aaron, because Aaron is her brother. It's not no Gea Badava. It's not his friend. It's a brother. A brother is disqualified. So who is it? Said the Gemara, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu acted as a Kohen. He has a status of a Kohen, Zvachim Kuf Beis, and Imele, he was Masgir his Miriam. Everybody asks in this Gemara, why do you have to say, Moshe Rabbeinu, well, he's a Zar, he's not a Kohen. Moshe Rabbeinu has the same problem that Aaron a Kohen has, called, he's her brother. So say, Moshe and Aaron are brothers, it can't be. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it. No, Moshe is a Zar, he's not a Kohen, so he can't do it. Aaron is a brother, and Moshe is not her brother. Simple China, right? So Toras Chaim says, there's a Machlokes Tana Kama and Reb Meir. Reb Meir holds that in fact a Kohen is not allowed to see the negaim of his relative. So it could be that Aaron held like Reb Meir, but Moshe Rabbeinu held like Tana Kama. And according to Tana Kama, a relative is allowed to see the negaim. And so why didn't Moshe do it? Because Lemaise, he's not a Kohen, he's a Zar. So we had to go to this teretz. That's one way of understanding it. Comes the Meir Einei Chachamim, the Yov Sov Tereve, and he says, Licheoira, both Aaron and Moshe are the same. Because when we all converted, Ma'amad Har Sinai, what happened to all of us? Gershon is Gayer, Kekatan Shenoilad. Aaron is not her brother anymore. Biologically, he is not halachically. So you should have said that both Moshe and Aaron are not her brothers. Aaron doesn't have a problem of being a brother. Moshe is not a Kohen. Aaron is able to see her Negai because he is not her brother anymore. Says the Meir Nechachami, we have to use the Maharal. Maharal has a big Chiddush, Parshas Vayigash. And he says, when do we say, Gershon is Gayer Kekatan Shenoilad? When a person says, I would like to become a convert, his halachic status changes, and he is Kekatan, is a new entity. Panim Chadashos Ba'alekan. But when I force you to convert, you don't lose that Panim, you don't become Panim Chadashos, you're the same person. What happened to Ma'amad Har Sinai? HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the mountain, uprooted it, and turned it over our heads. Says, you accept my Torah or not? And if not, that will be your burial place. Mimele, it's called Kfiyah. We were forced to convert, and when we're forced to convert, you don't lose your relations with all your relatives. And therefore we had to say, Moshe is not a Kohen. Aaron is a brother, and we can't take Moshe and Aaron together. Why? Because Moshe wasn't down there with everybody else. Moshe was with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He wanted to convert on his own. So by him we do say, Gershon this guy Katan Shenoilad. Aaron was down with all the people, and Mimele, according to the Maharal, Reb Neftali Trop explains beautifully why that is. Why is it that when a person comes and says, I want to convert, he becomes a Katan Shenoilad? Because when a person comes to convert, he gets a total new Kedusha, a Kedushas of Am Yisrael. Klal Yisrael had already a Kedusha. They're the sons of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They had an added bonus, an added Kedusha. For added Kedusha, you don't lose who you were before. Mimele, Aaron HaKohen is downstairs. With all the people, he is forced to convert. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts the mountain over our heads, Mimele, he doesn't lose being the brother of Miriam. So we had to say, he's disqualified. But Moshe, he is a real convert. He is upstairs. Nobody is forcing him. Mimele, he loses being a brother, and he is Kekatan Shenoilad, and therefore the Gemara uses two different explanations why Moshe and Aaron will be disqualified to see the Negaim of Miriam. Moshe davens for his sister. Kelna, Refana la. What was he actually asking Yibani Shloilam? Shnai Mikavecha Targum, Rashi. Kelna, Refana la. What was he requesting? Hashiveni, imata merape oisa, imlo. Please answer me. Are you going to heal my sister or not? Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa and Moshe Rabbeinu. Who's greater? Moshe Rabbeinu. So Akam and Bochos Lamedan Amud Beis, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa says, if my tefillah goes really well, Im shgu befi, I know it works. And if not, I start, I know it didn't work. So Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa knows something Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't know? Why does Moshe Rabbeinu have to turn to Kodesh Baruch Hu? Tell me, was my tefillah accepted? Did it work or not? Hashiveni. Answer me. Are you going to heal my sister or not? Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa doesn't have to ask Kodesh Baruch Hu. He knows by himself. So he knows something that Moshe doesn't know. How is it possible?
What was the answer?
Two answers. Either Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa knows it about a long davening, not about 5 words. It's very easy to say Ken Narefan Allah. So that's not an indication. Or Moshe Rabbeinu was a stutterer. That's what he said. So to him, every tefillah is very difficult. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, if he found himself stuttering, he said, oh, bad sign, because normally I don't stutter. Moshe Rabbeinu is always stuttering. So to him, it's always an effort. So he can't rely on knowing, oh, it works well. It's never going to work well. You're a stutterer.
After Har Sinai also?
So at Har Sinai, everybody was healed. There's a machloikes if it stayed or if it came back. According to that, we're going to say it came back. Mimele, he's a stutterer for him. That tefillah is very difficult, so he can't rely on how it comes out. Mayim achronim. Why do we do mayim achronim? Salt from Sdom. What's wrong with the salt from Sdom? What's the connection to mayim achronim? It can cause you to become blind. You sure about that? You're saying they used to use salt, used to use their hands, and this salt is very potent, and if afterwards you'll touch your eyes, you can become blind. Pashut, everybody agrees, right? Excellent. Question, what should a person do if he has eye disease? Other than davening, practically, what should he do? I'm sending you to Shabbos Kufres, which comes before Eruvin, which comes before Chulin. So you should know, if you know Eruvin and Chulin, which you just quoted to me, you should know Shabbos Kufres Amud Beis. And the Gemara says, one who has eye problems, eye disease, he should go to the Dead Sea, take some salt and put it in his eyes. He's going to be healed. I don't understand. You just told me that salt will make you blind. And I'm telling you, if you have problems with your eyes, you better go to the Dead Sea and put some salt because it's going to heal you. Now, say, either the mayim achronim doesn't work, or the healing properties of the Dead Sea doesn't work. How do they fit together? Not my shayla. Shayla of the Meiri. In Shabbos Kufres says, oh, wait a second, I have a problem with Eruvin, I have a problem with Chulin. The Meiri offers 2 answers. Either the water of the Dead Sea, the salty water, heals. The salt can make you blind. On your table you have salt, not salty water. You have salt. That salt can make you blind. One answer. Second answer of the Meiri, a person who's sick takes medication. If you give the same medication to a healthy person, it could be very, very bad. And every medicine has all kinds of negative side effects. The body works in synergy. So he says, for a healthy person, the salt can actually make him blind. A person who has an eye disease, for him, the salt is very good. Give only an answer. Or is it? Based on this answer, it comes out an unbelievable thing. A person who has eye disease, but it comes out from this answer of the Meiri. A person who already has a problem with his eyes should not do mayim achronim. Why? We're saying the salt can heal you. If you're going to do mayim achronim, you're washing off that salt. You washed away your medication, and you're not going to be healed. L'choira, based on this Meiri.
The Indian behind homeopathy.
Say it again.
What you said with the salt.
Yeah.
It'll help you, but this is the principle of homeopathy. That they give you, right, in very small doses, the thing that is ancient.
Right.
But these are very small doses. So it's
Right. But even that tiny dose, if I wash it off, I just washed away my medication. According to Meiri, Achidish, if you can come up with an answer, we'll be very happy.
It says you should go to the Alma. She needs a lot of it in the source, not a little bit of it from far away. Could be it doesn't help or it hurts.
אולי. אם קבלה נקבל, אם לדין יש תשובה. ויצעק מוישה אל השם לאמור, כן נא רפא נא לה. השאלה למעשה, very נוגע. Many times you go on the street, you see on the billboard, you see in the shul, a sign, please daven. For Moshe ben Chaim, for Leah Abbas. Are you required to? Are you obligated when you see that sign to in fact daven? All day long you see these signs and your list is going to be very, very, very long. Are you required? You're saying yes. Anytime you see a person asks, you don't know the person. There's a list of 30 people. You have to copy those names and start davening for them? For how long?
Every WhatsApp status.
I don't know WhatsApp. In this year, I don't know about WhatsApps.
You just say Hashem Tzarapes, a list of it.
It's easy, but you have to. So you don't have to go name by name. Just anybody who's on that list, but you have to. What? The Gemara in Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph and Saredin says, how do you know that a person who sees his friend drowning in the river, or an animal is about to devour him, or an armed robber comes, how do you know that he can't just stand aside and say, well, that's very interesting, fascinating to see. He must jump and help. How do you know this? Shenema? Lo tamod al dam re'echa. If that's the case, if you see your friend in trouble, and if he is sick, he's in trouble, and you have the koyach of tefillah, the koyach of daven for him. The Gemara in Brachos, Yudbei says, Omar Rab Chanina, Kol she'efshar lo levakesh rachamim al chaveiro. Anyone who can daven for his friend, ve'eino mevakesh, what do we call him? Nikra? Choite. He's called a sinner. He brings up us to support it. The Sifsei Chacham says, why he's a sinner? What did he do wrong? He just didn't daven. And he says, first of all, he transgressed. You wouldn't want somebody to daven for you. Why are you not davening for your friend? And he had an opportunity to do a gminus chasadim, and he didn't. And one who saves one person, it's as if he saved the world entire. And he nullified these three things, and therefore he is called a sinner. Lichora, it's an obligation. Comes the Meiri. Here's one of the Rishonim. Listen to the language of the Meiri. Mimidois hachachamim v'tachsiseihen. Chachamim wanted you not to see your friend in trouble and say, okay, what does that have to do with me? I don't even know the person. That's his problem. Let him go to the doctor. Chachamim wanted to have achdus and ahava between all people in Klal Yisrael, and they said, you know what? If you see your friend in trouble, you don't daven for him, yeah, you're called a sinner. Not that you really are a sinner. It's the right thing to do. It's midas chasidus. It's the right thing that Chachamim want you to do, but it's not a complete obligation. But we have a problem with the Gemara in Brachos. Kol she'efshar lo lispar al chaveiro. If you can daven for your friend and you don't, you're called a sinner. Comes the Omer Shechecha and asks, what does it mean? Kol she'efshar. What's stopping you from davening? You should say, Kol she'eino mispalel. If you don't daven for your friend, you're called a sinner. What is this language? Kol she'efshar lo. Who's stopping you from davening? And he says, Kol she'efshar lo. We're talking about tzaddik ado, that you know you have the koyach by your davening to heal people, and you don't daven for them. You're called a sinner. But a regular guy who says he has the koyach to heal people by his prayer, we're not talking about him. It doesn't become an obligation. It's the right thing to do. Comes the Aruch HaShulchan, which I think we mentioned a few weeks ago in Siman Reish Tesvav Sif Aleph in Shulchan Aruch HaChaim, and he says, when the Gabbai in Shul after the Aliyah says, Mishabeach lachoilim, and you say Amen, you fulfill ve'ahavta l're'acha ka'moicha. So, meaning, you're mekayim the mitzvah ve'ahavta l're'acha ka'moicha, but it doesn't seem that it's an obligation. Otherwise, en la davar sof. Certainly according to the Meiri.
Can you learn from the Kohen Gadol that someone was glad is because he did the shogeg, and they say that was Kohen Gadol did not pray enough for him?
Kohen Gadol, that would work very well with the Omer Shechecha.
Right.
Adam Gadol, Kohen Gadol, you're not a greater person than that. Why didn't you daven with a little more kavana? You would save unintentional murders from being happening in Am Yisrael. Kel na refa na la. What exactly did he request? What type of refuah? Comes Shlomo Kluger and he says, in this prayer, Moshe Rabbeinu asked the Kodesh Baruch Hu to create a new healing for Miriam. What does it mean, a new healing? The Gemara says, Kol ha-mevaze talmid chochem ein refuah lemakaso. Normally, in Megillah Yud Gimel Amud Beis we learn HaKadosh Baruch Hu is makdim refuah lamaka. Before HaKadosh Baruch Hu strikes the person with something, there's already a refuah built in. And then a person just has to daven. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes that healing that it was stored somewhere and he gives it to him. But Kol ha-mevaze talmid chochem ein refuah lemakasoi. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't delay. As soon as a person is mevaze talmid chochem, he disgraces him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu immediately strikes him. So as if there was no chance to create the healing first. What did Miriam do here? Lecheoira. She's mevaze talmid chochem, Moshe Rabbeinu. So there is no healing. So therefore Moshe Rabbeinu has to request HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kelna Refanala create a new healing that doesn't exist. Because as if there was no time, because she was mevaze, immediately HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishes. How careful we have to be not to disgrace Talmid Chachamim. Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem leimo. Vayitzak. Brachos lamed aleph amud aleph. You're not allowed to yell. When you're davening, you're not allowed to yell because when you yell, you're suggesting to Kodesh Baruch Hu, you probably can't hear. So Kodesh Baruch Hu, let me tell you exactly what I need. Kodesh Baruch Hu hears you loud and clear.
How about the Hasidus that hasn't to yell? Is the Hasidus that hasn't to do that?
True. More than one. But we're stuck with Moshe Rabbeinu before the Hasidim. If we'll answer Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe we'll answer also the Hasidim. How come Moshe Rabbeinu is yelling? He knows the Gemara in Brachos Lamed Aleph. They'll be written 1,000 years later. It's Paskin Aloha. You don't yell. Shenema. Not Shenema. Shenema is Makim Kasich Hashem on the same pasuk. You go from the depth. Vayitzak Moshe Lichoira is against the din. You don't have to yell. When you yell, you're suggesting that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't know your machshavos. So you have to yell so HaKadosh Baruch Hu will hear you. So how come Moshe Rabbeinu yelled here? Because Moshe yelled Kel Narefan Allah, but he didn't say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu the name of the person who's sick. Suggesting, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know you know machshavos. Mimel is no problem. When you yell everything out loud, you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't read my mind, so I have to yell to you. But since he kept some secrets, I'm not going to tell you the name. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yodea machshavos, and therefore he can yell. Similarly, some people yell. Ana bekoyach. What do we say there? Shavaseinu kabel ushma. Listen to tzakaseinu. Why are you yelling? Because why do you say right after the next two words? Shema tzakatenu hu Yodea ta'alumos. You know the hidden secrets. If I'm telling you, you know the hidden secrets, mimele, I can start yelling. Oznaim Atoya explains in a different way. Miriam is sighing. She's in pain, both physically and spiritually. She's a mitzvah. She was punished. She is sighing. She is sighing. When she's sighing, Moshe can't hear himself. And we learn in the same page in Brachos Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph Paskin LaHalacha in Shulchan Aruch Kuf Aleph Seif Beis Hamispalel. The one who davens has to hear what he's saying. Mimele, since Moshe can't because Miriam is sighing, he had to yell. And Moshe is consistent. Because in Makas Sfardeya, by the frogs, Moshe again, Vayitzak, he yelled. Why are you yelling? Because the frogs were making so much noise in Mitzrayim, and Moshe can't hear himself yelling. Mimele, he had to raise his voice, and then there's no problem to yell. Do you need to mention your friend's name? One is sick. Do you need to mention his name? Yes. The Gemara says, "Ein tzarich lehaskir shmo." You don't have to mention his name. Why? We learn from Moshe. Because Moshe said, "Kel na refa na la." He is the source. You don't need to mention the name. But Levaisa, we like to use the name. Comes the Degel Machne Ephraim. Who's that? The grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. And he says, "What do you think? Moshe didn't mention a name? He didn't mention Miriam and her mother's name, but he did. Refa na." Gematria 332. Miriam Yocheved 332. So Mimele, he mentioned her name and he mentioned her mother's name. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yodea Ta'alumos, but I'm going to mention because the Magen Avraham in Simon Kuf Yutes says you don't have to mention the name of the person when he's near you. But if you daven for a person who's not near you, you can mention the name, and that's the minhag. So Mele Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioning her name in a code way that only Ribbon Shalom know. And now we also know because Degel Machne Ephraim revealed to us, Refana 332, Gematria, Yocheved, Miriam Yocheved.
The person says like on his, Hashem, please heal my mother. Does he have to say her name or any relative? You know who it is. This person has an only son.
If the person is next to him, you don't have to mention his name.
But let's say the person has an only
The Chassam
son.
Sofer has a chiddush.
I know my son.
The Chassam Sofer has a chiddush. What's your problem mentioning the name? Chassam Sofer wants to say that there's some kind of a association, potentially, between the name and the Gezeira and this person. This makes a lot of sense according to the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, that Shinui Hashem, if you change your name, it can change the Gezeira. So if you mention the name, it can actually go against the person. So don't mention the name. So if you're next to the person, you don't need to. The Magen Avraham, which I quote in Kuf Yutes, brings the name of the Maharil, from the Rishonim, that when you're not next to the person, you do mention the name, and the name of the mother's well, and that's the minhag in most kehilos. But according to some Sofer, it's a problem to mention the name because it's associated with the decree of the sickness that is on this person. The best fashion to heal a person is actually not medication, contrary to popular belief. It's davening. That's really where the koyach comes. Says the Brisker Rav. When someone asks you, you just came from visiting Reuven, right? How is Reuven doing? Is he better? Yeah, much better. Should be careful. If you're saying that and he's not really better, you may go into the realm of being considered a roidef, a pursuer. Because when you say to him, oh yeah, he feels much better, he looks much better. So the person you just said it to is not going to daven. So you're denying from him the koyach of the real healing that comes through his prayer. So you're a roidef. Wow. When a person asks you, how is the friend doing? Don't say he's terrible when he's not. But if he's not really much better, don't say that. Be exact. Don't take away the koyach of prayers that really can help. Va'ish Moshe Anav. He is so humble, more so than anyone else. Chazal speaks so much. They praise the midah of Anava. Everybody wants that good and chesed should pursue him. What's the secret? How to have that happen? The pasuk says, Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. We have a rule. The word ach, what does it do? Achin v'rakin memayet. The word ach, the word rak always comes to minimize, to exclude. Meaning, if I will be noyeg myself as an ach, meaning to minimize myself, anava, the result will be tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. Good and chesed will pursue me my whole life. And then I will bizoichei v'shavti beveis Hashem le'orechem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will allow me to sit in his house because HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes people who are humble. Ach, which is the midah of anava, to make yourself smaller, that will lead to tov v'chesed, that will lead to being able to be in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's house. Similarly, Tehillim Ayin Gimel Pasuk Aleph. Ach, tov le'Yisrael. This midah of ach, minimizing yourself, making yourself small and humble, that's tov le'Yisrael. And in Parshas Re'eh, if you will be the b'china of ach, minimizing yourself, being humble, then you will be happy. Why? Because first of all, a person who is minimizing, a person who's humble, doesn't find what to complain about others. So it's a practical reason. If you're humble, you're not looking for everybody, he's this and he's this, and I'm better than anybody else. So you're always happy because you don't find faults in anybody else. And since the HaKadosh Baruch Hu he likes a lot those who are humble, he will make you happy. Ve'ayisa ach, if you will be ach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make sure you are sameach, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes those who are humble. Ve'ayish Moshe anav mikol ha'adam. Gewaldig avot of the Baal Shem Tov. Normally, the more important the thing or the person, the more out there he is. But the pasuk says, Yoshev b'seser elyon. Yoshev b'seser, a person who sits in hiding quietly. He is humble. He is the elyon. In the eyes of Ribono Shel Olam, the one who sits in hiding, he makes himself humble. Yoshev b'seser. In the eyes of Ribono Shel Olam, he is the true elyon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes him exalted and elevated. Rabbi Yankele Galinsky said, talking about Anava, the Ponovezh Rav once told him, I'm not afraid of failure. Sheva yipol tzadik, v'kam. He is still called a tzaddik when he falls. When he fails, he is still called tzaddik as long as you get up. But there's one thing I cannot forgive myself for doing. It's so many years, and I still regret what I did back then. He says, what happened? The Ponovezh Rav was known from a very young age as an Ilui. He was brilliant, and the Chofetz Chaim loved him. So once, Chofetz Chaim calls him over and says, soon Beis HaMikdash will be built. Kohanim will start serving in Beis HaMikdash. You are a Kohen. You should start learning Kochim. Seder Kochim. You need to know what to do. So he says, I smiled, and I said to the Chofetz Chaim, I'm planning to be a Rav. I'm planning to be a Rosh Yeshiva. So I'm concentrating more on the Sdarim of Moyed, Nashim, and Ezekin. That's what normally we learn in yeshivas. Chofetz Chaim says to him, listen, Mashiach can come before you become a Rav, and before you open that yeshiva that you're planning to open. Mashiach will come, and they're going to need you to work. You're going to serve in Beis HaMikdash. So much so that the Gemara in Tanis Yud Zayin entertains the thought that maybe Kohanim today are not allowed to drink wine. Because what if Mashiach comes today, and you're going to be drunk, and you won't be able to serve in Beis HaMikdash? So the Ponovezh Rav says to Rabbi Yankele Galinsky, I answered the Chofetz Chaim. I said, Rebbe, how are you comparing the two? If you become drunk, it's psul haguf. You yourself are disqualified from being going. You can't serve right now in Beis HaMikdash. But let's say I'm an Amaretz in Kochim and I don't know what to do. It's not a problem. I'm going to stand right next to you, and you, the big Rebbe, the Chofetz Chaim, you know everything, so you'll teach me. And he says to Rabbi Yankele Galinsky, it's been maybe 50 or 60 years since I said this to Chafetz Chaim, and I can't forgive myself for that answer. The Menkel Gnisis says, it was very witty. It's clever. What's wrong with this answer? It's cute. He says to me, don't you understand? What chutzpah did I have to think that when Beis HaMikdash will be built, and they will call all the Kohanim, they will allow me to stand next to the holy Chafetz Chaim? What was I thinking? And I keep regretting this for 50 years, and I can't forgive myself for saying that. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, En HaKadosh Baruch Hu Masher Shechinaso, Nedorim Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will only bestow His Shechina on a person who is Gibor, Ve'ashir, Ve'chacham, Ve'anav. Asks Reb Chaim Mivolozhin. I don't understand. Anav is a great prerequisite to have Shechina on you. Gewaldik. Anav. Why not? Chacham. Highly recommended. Why does he have to be an Ashir? What does he have to be rich? Why does he have to be a Gibor, mighty? And what if he's a weakling? But he's a big time Anav. Why can't he have the Shechina bestowed on him? What's the problem? Says Abraham Volozhin. It could be that this poor guy is really an Anav. But there's no clear proof. It could be that the reason he's an Anav because he knows he has nothing to be arrogant about compared to all the rich people around him. What can he be arrogant about? So really what we require is anava. But when you are rich and mighty and you're still an anav, that's true anava. Because you are, in theory, able to become very arrogant over everybody else who is not as rich and mighty as you. So then we know that anava is the real deal. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashre shchinaso, specifically on that person here, that you should all be zayche for Ashra, Shechina, Bekaro, B'yameinu, V'noima. Amen. Good Shabbos, Rabbi Yisrael.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.